Happy Sunday, everybody. Chef John Ashton here and Mrs. Spielberg. How are you?
I'm good.
You good? You're looking dapper.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we're able to do this today because I was really afraid with the big storm we were going to lose power. So.
Yeah, we got really blitzed. There's so much snow as I look in the yard. Take him around to the yard. Go to the side of the house. Take him out the window. Yeah. You can see how much snow.
There's a lot of snow.
A lot of snow.
There's a lot of snow out here too.
Look at the yard.
There's a lot of snow. I think we got about maybe 24 inches.
24 inches. Do you know, Mrs. Spielberg, I have to say the way you were moving is unbelievable.
I was trying to do it slow.
You never like that on the dance floor with me. Chill glasses. Always chill your glass. Common mistake. I keep mine in the freezer.
Are these new glasses? I like these.
No.
Uh-huh.
Stop it, Mrs. Spielberg.
We have more plates and glasses than you could ever imagine.
Always chill your glasses. I keep them in the freezer. I'll put some ice in it. We're going to make a limoncello teeny, but it's smooth. What makes it smooth is actually using an egg white. I guess I come up with this idea from a pisco sour. First time I had a pisco sour, we were on the train on the way up to Peru, Haddam Bingham. It's very much like the Oriental Express. And it was Mrs. Spielberg's birthday. She was 21. And we were on our way up to the top, and the drink, what you have when you go to Peru, is the pisco sour. My goodness gracious, I was like a donkey with strawberries. I had one, I was like, what is that? It's just fabulous, the balance of sweet, sour. What?
Do donkeys like strawberries? Why would
No, when I was a kid, I went to the beach, and my granny, come from a poor family. Strawberries were expensive. It wasn't like the modern day farming. And there was a donkey on the beach, and I went over to it, and it ate my strawberries. And what happened was it started chasing me. So that's why I say like a donkey with strawberries.
Got it. I'm glad you clarified that. Because nobody else would have gotten that. Thanks for the reference.
I've got some egg whites in the shaker. I'm going to add some limoncello and vodka to it. Now, whenever we use egg whites, we always want to do the dry shake just to emulsify the ingredients together. So this dry shake, you'll get a better froth when you give it a dry shake. And when you're shaking, you just want... What are you laughing at?
I mean, this is not like cocktail Tom Cruise. Come on, give me a little more.
Listen, I know...
That's better. Higher. Okay.
You're such a rascal. About 15 seconds, and what you're doing is just bringing in, emulsifying together the actual, emulsifying the egg whites with that. Make sure you put the top on properly, because I've just...
Is it all over?
Well, no, it's just decided to open up a little bit. You can see the way it's starting to froth. So that's important. You won't get that froth if you don't add the ice at first. And now we want to add the ice. Whenever you shake, you always want to be shaking for about at least 10 to 30 seconds. Now you can see the ice, Mrs. Spielberg. I haven't filled it up.
Deb said you're cuter than Tom Cruise. I have to agree.
Thank you, Deb. It's so right. And I don't have to study Scientology neither.
A regular maverick.
Absolutely. I am the Top Gun of this kitchen.
What's the proportion of egg whites to limoncello?
For 2 ounces of limoncello, 1 ounce of vodka, and 1 egg white.
Awesome.
And then, depending on how sweet you like it, sometimes, I'll add a little bit of agave nectar.
Okay.
So some people use simple syrup, but I've always found agave nectar to be a little bit sweeter. So we're just going to froth this a little bit more, Mrs. Spielberg. Okay. And if you like more lemon, if you like things a lot more acidic, you can add a splash more lemon juice. So remember, you can add a bit more fresh lemon juice to it. It's all about you. What I would say is make the drink as I suggested. If you like it, stay with it. If you want more acidity, add a little bit more.
Why are you putting a blanket around it?
I'm scared. I don't want to pull what happens? Every time I shake it, Mrs. Spielberg, and I really go for it, I pull a funny face.
Oh, I can see it. And so can everyone else. Much better.
This is why I'm not a barman. Don't be looking at my bum. It's getting... Okay, so you just want to shake it.
I think you're good.
Oh, sausages. I feel like I've been doing one of them Richard Simmons sweating with the oldies videos. You know, or that guy who has that machine where he starts shaking it.
I just saw Talia's on. Hey, Talia.
Hi, Talia. Okay, through a strainer into the glass.
Okay. Look at that.
It's a great drink. This takes a lemon drop martini to a whole new place.
Where'd you get these glasses? These are cool.
These are Riddell. I got these online. I really like them. So look at that. This is 3 egg whites. This is 3 times the portion, makes 2 big glasses of it, because you've seen Mrs. Spielberg drink on the show.
Look who's talking.
Okay, just look at that. Look at that
I
top.
can't film and drink usually at the same time.
But look at that, Mrs. Spielberg.
That's very cool. I like the froth on top.
Yeah, and that's what makes it silky. Hey everybody, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in, Mrs. Spielberg.
All right, hold on. I gotta get it up.
Cheers.
Right.
Here's to you, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Possibly one of my favorite cocktails, isn't it? What do you think of that, Mrs. Spielberg? You've never had it before, have you?
No, that is delicious.
When Mrs. Spielberg comes in, she never knows what we're making. So I just, I tell her, she knows the food, but she never knows the cocktail of it. And it's a really fabulous cocktail. Absolutely impeccable. Okay, Mrs. Spielberg, Judy sent us a message this week, and it's a common question. You know, one of the things we love about the show is that you all ask questions, and feel free to ask any questions. One of the questions this week Judy asked was about Dutch ovens. So Dutch ovens can go from a couple of $100 down to like $60 with them. So what's the differences in? And I try to explain what I've learned over the years. They all do the same thing, but they're just designed differently. So first of all, someone had mentioned Lodge. So I'm going to show you my old Lodge. This is my old Lodge. Now, when we look at this, Mrs. Spielberg, we're looking for surface area. So whenever we saute or we brown, we're looking for surface area. Because with the Lodge, and they're relatively inexpensive, and I love Lodge, I'm pleased I'm not putting them down, all my cast iron skillets, they're brilliant. But just look at the way this side is shaped round. Can you see that? It's shaped round, so you don't have that much surface to brown on the bottom if you look. Had they have come straight the way down, which is what we want to look for, straight sides in a Dutch oven, that way we're going to have more surface cooking area, it would be better. So next we look at the Cuisinarts, and these are the inexpensive ones. Cuisinarts maybe $70. We can see this has got a flat bottom. It comes down straight with the sides. Absolutely fabulous. The only fault with this one, smaller handles, but in general, I would recommend this one. I would recommend the Misen, M-I-S-E-N, as inexpensive pans. But if you can afford it, because usually when you buy it, it's going to be purchased forever. I would say Le Creuset. It has a bigger handle and it's designed better.
Don't we have Staub as well?
We do have Staub. I like Staub, but the only problem with Staub is the handle's much smaller, and I like something I can get my hands in. When that's full and it's got a lot of weight, and I always use a 7 quart, at least a 7 quart, because when we're making them soups and things like that for the winter, I like something where I can get my hands in, because once it's heavy, I want to be able to. And you'll notice, here's the Le Creuset here, which you always see me using. Look at the size of the handles on it compared to the other one.
You guys have big fingers. I've got delicate fingers. I like that as Staub. Seth got us a Staub. I love that one.
Seth did get us a Staub. He's an amazing human being. He's my best mate. Cheers, Seth. Although he has been failing at making pasta. Okay, let's get stuck in. So today we're going to make a pork ragu, slow cooked pork ragu. When we think about ragus, we often think about the tomato-based ragus, the bolognese from Bologna. But when we think also, before tomatoes were around, people would make ragus without tomatoes in the 18th century. So we're going to go back old school, and we're also going to make a pasta today. First thing what we've got is the bacon in the pan. So if you come over here, Mrs. Spielberg, I've got some bacon in the pan, and this has been cooking. So I've crisped it up, we've rendered the fat. As you look at the instructions, whenever we cook, with fat, whenever we've got something like belly pork or bacon or pancetta, we always add water to the pan with the bacon rather than just adding oil, because the old-fashioned, a lot of recipes will teach you, add some oil, start to render the fat. The best way to render fat is to get it up to a temperature where the oils want to release from it. So basically what we've done is took some water, added the bacon to it or pancetta to it, bring it up to a boil. As the water evaporates, the fat comes out and we end up with this nice fat on the bottom of the pan. So you can see that's cooked nicely and it's nice and golden. And you see that on the bottom, we want that brown. Anytime we see a fond, it's always wonderful. It's a great thing because a fond means flavor. The brown stuff on the bottom, we're always looking for a fond. Okay, I've got a yellow onion and I've just soaked it in some water. It's got a little bit of colouring on the side. Don't worry about that. The reason why I soak it in water is a lot of the times with onions, they have papery skins and they're a nuisance to peel. So to help us peel it, we soak it in water for about 5 minutes. I'm going to peel off the skin and I'm just going to peel it in half. I'm peeling it in half. Now you can use a small knife if you want, but just look how easy the skin comes off. Same thing with garlic. Whenever you want to peel garlic, just soak it. If I was to do this with a regular onion and I didn't soak this, we'd always end up with the skin. We end up with paper everywhere. Now, that's how easy it is to peel an onion. And that's just with soaking the onion for a few mere moments. Just going to wipe the board, okay? And then what we're going to do, Mr. Spielberg, is sharp knife. We use Victorinox. We don't work for them. We keep it nice and sharp, and then we just use a sharpener, the Victorinox sharpener. And then when they get really bad, my neighbour John, he sharpens them as well. So all I'm going to do here is just chop it, coming down the onion, coming down, yeah? Now, if I come down that way, we know when we see the onion, it's got all these layers. So naturally, when we chop this way and go the other way, it's going to go into cubes. Can you see, Mr. Spielberg?
I sure can.
So now we've got them into a rough chop. Now remember, it's Italian food. It's not like French food where we're very precise and fine. The Italian grandmothers, anyone who's making it, it's more rustic and it's just full of flavor. So we're just using the knife and then coming across it. So it doesn't have to be too uniformed. And remember, this is going to be cooking for at least 90 minutes. So we're just going to take the onion, we're going to add that to the bowl. We've chopped up some celery, Mrs. Spielberg, and we've chopped up some carrots. That's a classic mirepoix. In Italian cooking, we call it a sofrito. So onions, celery, and carrots. If you've got some peppers, which you may see in Italian cooking as well, some red peppers or some green peppers, you could add that to it. If you have some fennel bulb on sale in your store, you could add that to it. Because remember, fennel and pork get along like shoes and socks really well together. We're going to go over here, Mrs. Spielberg. The bacon's cooked. You can see the bacon's cooked, yeah?
Yeah.
Now we're going to add the vegetables. So the vegetables go in and we want to cook these until they're slightly softened. Just giving them a little colour. And we want to get some colour on those vegetables.
Smells good.
Yeah, it's already starting to smell good.
Bacon smells so good.
Bacon always
Bacon
smells
makes
good,
everything
yeah.
good.
Do you think I should get some bacon aftershave?
Yeah, You'll
No.
have all the dogs running after you in the neighborhood.
I was thinking about you, Mrs. Spielberg.
No, we can just make some bacon.
Okay, garlic. When we go shopping for garlic, right, you can get the pre-peeled garlic. It's good, but it's not going to have the strength of regular garlic because they blanch it in hot water to bring the skins off. When they blanch it, you lose some of the garlic flavor. Some of that quick oof, that oomph is lost from the blanching and peeling, but you can use it. With garlic, when we go to the store, squeeze it. See the way I'm squeezing it? It's not hollow. If it's, what are you laughing at now?
Because you like touch every single piece of produce when you go to the store.
I do. Well, I smell as well.
I can't shop with it.
I wanted to sing. I'm like I guess I'm like a kid in a candy factory, or I'm like a, you know, it's almost like I go to the grocery store and I'm like, or a farm stand, and I'm almost like going into Santa's workshop, you know, where you see all the toys. You want to squeeze it. If it feels hollow, that's an old garlic. Always buy garlic, it should be firm. With the garlic, the best way to chop it, Mrs. Spielberg, is to just, for this one, we're going to mince it. So we're just going to bash it with the side of the knife, just being careful. If you're worried about using the side of the knife, you could use your bench scraper, okay? Because some people get a little bit worried.
You said that they don't allow you to touch the produce in Europe. Oh, we've got someone from Tbsp. Hey, Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Who's on?
Jerry from Tbsp.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you, neighbour. Thanks for joining in. I hope you learned some stuff today. If you was a little bit closer in Edgartown, you'd be able to smell this one cooking. We live in a town called Edgartown in Martha's Vineyard. So now I'm just chopping this. Now look, whenever we're mincing, hand on top, Mrs. Spielberg, and then just chopping. See?
Yeah.
Hand on top, hand on top, hand on top. We're just chopping the garlic, and we want it not too big. I mean, not too small, but just a rough chop. Some people would say, would you use a food processor for this? And I would say no, because not for a small amount. It's not worth the cleaning. You know, it takes a mere moment just to mince it like that. Yeah. Grabbing the garlic, and I'm just going to place it into a bowl. Now, you'll notice I haven't added the garlic now. Why haven't I added the garlic, you may say? That's because we don't want it to burn. Garlic is wonderful when it goes in there, when it gets a little bit of color on it. But as it gets browner, the flavor gets burnt, the caramelization of it gets a lot more bitter. So I'm not adding the garlic until about 30 to 60 seconds before. You'll notice I've got my plastic board, and this is something I use when I handle meat. I don't want it on my wooden board. Wooden board's fine to use, but you have to make sure you clean it afterwards. But I always have this as my sort of butcher's board. And the piece of meat we're using today is pork butt, which is the pork butt. And basically what we want to do with this one is take a look to move any of the top layer of fat off it. And then we've got a piece, an inexpensive, for anyone who lives in Martha's Vineyard, I always go to Reliable. Bob is our dear butcher on Ireland, and him and his family are beautiful. They've been around for many years. So I'm not too worried about these pieces of fat, these small pieces. A lot of that collagen will break down.
Deb wanted to know how many carrots went in.
2 carrots, Deb. Depending on the size, that's 2 relatively small. If your carrots are really long, the type of the ones where a horse will say, hello, Mr. Ed will say, I want that carrot.
I also saw that Dan and Jen from down the street, they missed out on the pizza last week, so they said they wanted to come up.
Dan and Jen, if you want to, please feel free after the show, if you want to come and pick up some dinner tonight. We'd be more than honored to share some with you. So after the show, just send us a text and you can come and pick some up. So we've got the pork. We've broke across the muscle fibers, and here's the fibers running that way. The reason why we broke this down, Mrs. Spielberg, is we want to just help it cook and make it into these pieces. So, okay, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm just going to wash my hands for a second.
I also wanted to say hello to Sharon. She's been watching. Her daughter and I went to middle school and high school together, so it's very nice. She's been watching every week loyally, so thanks, Sharon.
Hey, if you enjoy the show, please share it. You know, it's not sponsored. We want to grow the audience. My only goal as a chef is to teach you how to cook, but I also want to teach you how to be positive. Just about to enjoy this moment on life and celebrate life. If you enjoy it, just share it with some friends. I promise the recipes that we make do work. We really take the craft of cooking seriously, but we just love it, and I try to show you the ways to go wrong. So if you like it, please share it. If you don't like it, please share it. And if you really don't like it, please share it.
Polly is very excited because she's got a pork butt in the fridge. So
hey, I got a pork butt in the fridge.
Don't bring that and move out to the dance floor, please.
Okay, pork's here. Come on, Mrs. Beard, let's take a look. So we can see that the vegetables are getting a little bit of color on them now. It smells fabulous, okay?
Yep.
So whilst you're in there, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to add some garlic.
Yep.
The garlic's going in. We didn't want to add the garlic too far ahead. If we added the garlic too far ahead, Mrs. Spielberg, we'd end up burning the garlic, and it would be bitterness. That undertone of bitterness would be there. I'm just going to turn the fan on because it's starting to smell the garlic now. After this show, I always smell of garlic, and there's no vampires come near our home. They may have come last night with the darkness. Okay, that's happy days. That's good. They're really good. We're really excited about them. In the recipe, I tell you to mince up 2 pieces of thyme, 2 tablespoons of thyme, which is about maybe 8 to 12 the twigs of thyme. One of the things you could do if you want to save yourself a little bit of energy, you could take it and put these in. And the reason why I didn't say that is because a lot of the times someone will make it and then they'll get these when they serve it. But as long as you remember to fish them out at the end, the fresh thyme. If you can't get fresh thyme, please remember, I want you to be the Christopher Columbus of your palate. So don't pigeonhole this recipe. Don't put it in a straitjacket thinking you just need thyme. You could use maybe
you just need thyme. Different kind of thyme. Also, Annabelle just gave you a really nice testimonial saying that all of your recipes work. And Peter Sharples is watching.
Hi, Peter. How are you in Liverpool, England?
Nice. And Marg's watching too from Liverpool.
Hi, Margaret. My cousin Margaret, my sister-in-law Margaret, my friend Margaret. She is amazing at cakes. Margaret, write your Instagram on there because people need to see your cake. She took up baking and what a passion she has. Feel free if you want to add some rosemary. So don't pigeonhole it. Or if you haven't got rosemary, maybe some sage. Some dried sage, a couple of pieces of sage. We know that pork goes with rosemary. We know that it goes with sage. We know that it goes with thyme. Doesn't it sound like a Simon and Garfunkel? Are you going to
Scarborough Fair?
Oh, I thought it was San Francisco.
Oh my God. The cooking.
Okay, look. Okay, at this stage, Mrs. Spielberg, we are happy days. Yeah. Stay there. I'm just going to grab my cream from the fridge.
Hi, Deb and Brad. Nice to see you.
Hi, Deb and Brad.
I think we've got some new friends from Cooking on the Vineyard too. So
oh, really? I love our vineyard family. We want to grow our vineyard family. Every week we had 13 people. Last week, after the show, we had 13 people come up to pick up pizza. And then on Monday, we made pizza for 6 other people, a couple of police officers, state troopers, and firemen. And everyone come up, and that's what it's about. When I was a kid, it was all about knowing your neighbour and loving your neighbour, and it's just such a joy. This island, Martha's Vineyard, I think, I go all over the world, and I always look forward to coming here. If you've never been to Martha's Vineyard, please do visit sometime.
There's a lot of people that want to be our neighbors, so.
Yeah, look, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to add half a cup of cream. Feel free if you like cream to add some more, and I'm going to add some chicken stock. And why I add cream, I think this gives it the sauce more roundness, and I've got some chicken stock into the pot. And then whilst yours just staying there, you can see that, Mrs. Spielberg.
Thank you, Robin Cat, for the comment about the awesome pizza. I'm wondering if you're making this recipe this week.
The pork is just going to go in there, Mrs. Spielberg. Yeah. And then the pork goes into the pot. And then what we do, Mrs. Spielberg, is take some fennel. So let's just come to the side here, Mrs. Spielberg, if you would, for us.
Phyllis wants to know how many practice martinis do we have before the show?
Phyllis, I had 3 this week. I had 3 when I was doing it. When I was working on it, Phyllis, this recipe, I had it, and I don't like it when a martini. Brad, who's on today, Deb's husband, we were on a cruise together, on the Crystal Cruise, and he's the martini king. Like he gives James Bond a run for his money. Like he gets this martini, and it's so strong. I tried it, and there was this other cocktail he got me as well. I can't remember what it was, but I had to give it away. It was just like I had dragon breath, and it was burning my chest. So when I played about with this one, that's where the idea come in from the pisco sour with the egg white, and I was like, oh, this is lovely. When something's just gorgeous. Okay. Fennel seed, Mrs. Spielberg. Everybody thinks you've got to have a spice grinder. Yeah. Invest in a mortar and pestle. I use them all the time. With spices, what we want to do is just bash them. Now, to put this in, it opens up, it bruises them and opens up. And I use them all the time. I always use them. I've got spice grinders, but unless, Mrs. Spielberg, you're actually doing a lot of like Indian cooking, there's no use using a...
It's really loud.
There's no use using a spice grinder, and I always find that bruising them like this is much better. The blade of chopping them is actually not as good as just giving them the bashing like that. So I've got the fennel seed, goes in. Fennel seeds in there. We know pork gets along really well with fennel seed. When we think about that classic dish, that classic dish, pork cheddar, when we have it, or porchetta, when you have the pork at the belly and you roll it up, you think about fennel, you think about lemon in there, don't you? You think about sage, rosemary, thyme, parsley.
You're not going to start singing this
Ah,
song. No, please
you
no.
going
Please
to
no.
San Francisco.
No, it's Scarborough Fair, I think.
Scarborough Fair. Okay, at this point, Mrs. Spielberg, we take this and I'm going to pop it into the oven. Let me just grab this other one
Saying
out.
hello to Darcy, who is one of our biggest cheerleaders for this show. I don't think she's missed an episode. She is
Darcy
an amazing fan.
Darcy and George are amazing, and Darcy, I love you. Okay, it's coming out. The pork comes out. It goes in there for about an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
So let me
That's
just.
like movie, like TV magic.
That was very much like it was a bit like a Julia
You should have
Child
just
movie.
snapped your fingers.
I should have. At this stage, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to take the pork and I'm going to allow it to cook. Oh, look, just look.
My
Oh,
goodness.
stop it. Please, that's it. Let's just end the show as the pork falls.
You could not have made that like more timely and more amazing. Don't hurt yourself.
Oh,
Let's get back
sausages.
in there.
Just look. It doesn't want to. Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Look. Just look at the way it's fallen apart.
My goodness.
Can you see that, Mrs. Spielberg?
Yes.
Just look. It's just.
It's making me salivate.
It's making you salivate.
Yeah, it's so good.
Just look at this, Mrs. Spielberg. Look at the way
I'm
we're
hoping
going
my friend Kim's watching because she
Look.
said that this kind of dish is her jam.
that was the best term.
John
You know,
loves that.
I just thought that was brilliant. One of the things I love about the United States is some of the terminology. I don't understand it. And there are certain things that I would say that Mrs. Spielberg says I can't say on camera because it could
There's
be
a lot of
used.
things.
It could be used as a naughty, like a provocative word in the United States. And I'm innocent, you know what I mean? I wasn't thinking that way. Bring this off. I'm going to place it to one side.
Oh my gosh, that looks
Look,
so good.
I'm going to let this cool, okay?
Yeah.
Let that cool over there, Mrs. Spielberg. Let's make some pasta.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I have a sip of my drink?
Yeah, have a slurp.
Okay. You can
Have
try
a
to
slurp.
balance the camera and do
Hey,
it. at the
Mrs.
same time.
Spielberg, just while you're there, Mrs.
Yeah.
Spielberg, gonna add the limoncello now.
Okay.
Okay. You can. What you pouring your drink all over yourself?
No, I'm not.
I'm adding the limoncello, about half a cup, well, quarter of a cup, depending on how you like it. When it first goes in there, friends, when it first goes in, it's gonna have quite a bit of effervescence to it. You're first gonna, if you taste the sauce now, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? Let it cook for a couple of minutes. The effervescence will come away and it will start to be fine, just like when you make penny-alla vodka. Okay, Mrs. Spielberg, have a slurp of your drink.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
Oh wait,
Cheers.
cheers.
Wow, yours is a lot more full this week.
That's because I can't film and drink at the same
I
time.
love it. Hey, thanks everyone for tuning in. I want to show you a no-fail pasta. We've had a lot of folks who've asked us about making pasta. So I've been blessed to go to Italy so many times, too many times. As you can tell, there's a bit of age in my step, you know.
You spring chicken.
It's the moves.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was that.
A lot of people have been asking me about, can you just teach them how to make fresh pasta? Fresh pasta's really easy. First of all, when it comes to flour, a lot of us just go straight away for 00 flour. Remember we talked about this last week when we made pizza. This one's about 12.5 protein. 00 is the milling, it's the grounding of it, it's the softer. With 00, we're going to end up with a silky flour. Could you use bread flour? Absolutely.
What's the percentage of bread flour?
Bread flour is 12.7.
Oh, very good, because I was gonna. It's right on the bag, so I was trying to trick you. Can't trick you.
What the heck? Jiminy Cricket.
You really do know your stuff.
Sausages.
Sherry thinks we love our kitchen too.
Thank you. 5 ounces of flour, Mrs. Spielberg. If someone can write this down, that would be great. I haven't put this in the link. 5 ounces of flour. Now what I've done is we've got a recipe. I wanted a recipe that you can't go wrong. And why I say this is a no fail, normally it's usually 1 egg to 100 grams of flour, but I actually want to do this in a different way. I'm going to add more egg yolks to it. When you go to the north, you go to Parma, you'll see that they use a lot more rich egg yolks in their pasta. The rich egg yolks will give the pasta more elasticity, so you'll be able to roll it out and it won't dry as much.
Sally wants to know, can you use all-purpose or whole wheat flour?
Yeah, you can use all-purpose. All-purpose, King Arthur all-purpose was 11.5, which is
and
fine.
Marg wants to know, is all-purpose flour plain flour in England?
It's plain flour, yes. Okay. Just plain flour in England. Okay, so we've got 3 egg yolks and 1 egg, okay? Now, normally we just use 1 whole egg. We know that egg yolks are gonna add fat. We know that egg yolks are gonna add richness. To help us with the elasticity, which we did with pizza last week, we're gonna add some olive oil. So we're adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil. This is a pasta for 2 people. If you wanted it for 4 people, 10 ounces of flour, 2 eggs, 6 egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, no salt. Salt not needed. Salt will go in the water. If you see someone's recipe with pasta with the salt in it, don't trust it. It will lock up and there's just no need. You're already going to be adding salt to your water. Turn on your food processor. If you haven't got a food processor, make a well. Just make a well in your board, put the flour, make a well in the center, put the yolks in, use a fork, bring it together. You'll see a lot of videos on YouTube of grannies making pasta. I've got my food processor and I'm just gonna turn this on and I'm just gonna let it go. And you can see within 30 seconds, we've got ourselves a pasta dough. This will be far more superior than any pasta you've ever had. Tip it out onto the countertop. There's going to be a little bit of residual flour. Don't worry about the residual flour because now we're going to knead it in. Now, when it comes to kneading, Mrs. Spielberg, a lot of people have a tendency to worry about kneading small amounts of flour on your hands, okay? But not too much. We don't want to dry the pasta. Common mistake. People put too much flour on the hands and they dry it out. Remember, we want to let it hydrate naturally. Bench scrapers are best friend. If it starts to stick to the surface, scrape it up, bring it back. When we need, stretch the gluten, bring it back, bring it back. Stretch the gluten, bring it back, bring it back. Just like this. And you can just, you know what you can do? You can just chat with your partner. You can do this in front of people. You can FaceTime. You can watch Oprah Winfrey's book club. You can watch some of my old...
Ozark.
Oh, I don't know. I usually fall asleep watching Ozark. Thanks, Mrs. Spielberg. I got so many messages from people after last week's show saying, do you really fall asleep after Ozark? Okay, so we're just kneading it. And why are we kneading it? We're actually working on the gluten in the flour so you can see. So 2 minutes kneading, it's more than enough. See, now watch when I press it. It's springing back. See the way it's springing back? Yeah?
I need this in my life.
Wrap. Don't make me drink more limoncello, Mrs. Spielberg. I'm going to be absolutely drunk before the end of the show. Wrap this in some plastic wrap. Leave it at room temperature. Common problem with people. They don't let it rest long enough. Room temperature, 1 hour to 4 hours. Everybody says put it in the fridge. Unless it's overnight, don't put it in the fridge. You can make it 2 days ahead. You might see a small amount of discoloring. Don't worry about the discoloring. That's not a problem at all. Does it freeze? Yes, it freezes well. Look at it. It's like Play-Doh when you first buy Play-Doh. Follow the recipe and you won't go wrong. I promise you. It's going to be your favorite. It's a no-fail recipe. Okay, so now that we've got this, just look at that elasticity. It's rested. You have to let it rest. If you don't let it rest, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm just going to put some flour on here. If you don't let it rest, it's going to naturally, it's going to just shrink back. So I'm just going to taking it and I'm keeping an eye on it. So what I'm looking for now, Mrs. Spielberg, is what's the flour like on it? So I'm looking to see, is it sticking? So is that sticking, you know? And I'm just coming through. And another question people always ask is, how thin do you roll it? I know that, you know, with it, depending on what we're making, we always want to go to be able to see. We should be able to read the newspaper underneath it. So you can see that I'm starting out and I'm just rolling it. I'm turning it over. And it's really effortless. It's a real simple recipe. At this stage now, can you see that? That's thinner than a dime. Can you see?
Yeah.
See the thinness
It's
of
very
that?
relaxing watching you do this.
You know, this recipe, why I wanted to do this was that I wanted a recipe that people can't fail. I do a lot more complex recipes. My friend Seth, and I love him, I shared him my more complex recipe, which has got a lot more flavor, and he failed, and it felt awful. So I wanted to create a recipe for him where he's got no more excuses, and he cooks with Asher and Talia and the Liverpool FC fans, so we love that. Okay, look, Mrs. Spielberg. So now we've got the pasta. So we take a look, and we can see these a little bit thinner, depending on what you like. And a lot of folks say, I just got my dried pasta out. What's the difference between dried pasta and fresh pasta? Fresh pasta is going to have the eggs in it. Dried pasta is going to have the semolina. It's going to be a durum flour just with water. Whereas your fresh pasta, it's got your fresh pasta's got eggs in it. And you can see now, look, I'm not using any fancy machines here, guys. Just a good old-fashioned rolling pin, and I'm just rolling it out. But look at the way it's not sticking. Look at the way the elasticity, it's not shrinking back. Yeah?
Very
So
nice.
I'm happy here, Mrs. Spielberg.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy. Maybe just a little bit more. A little bit more. So let's go into a couple of different cuts. I just want to show you a couple of different cuts. So I'm gonna, normally what we'd normally do is straighten this out. So when we're in you don't have to, and you can eat this. This is if you make a mess, that's a snack accident, okay?
I like snack accidents.
Okay, pappardelle is 1 inch, okay? Pappardelle, 1 inch thick. See that?
That's my favorite with bolognese.
Pappardelle, with a ragu, pappardelle, okay?
Okay.
Let's do, I just want to show you a couple. I'm going against myself here, but I'm sorry. I'm going to cut it into squares. So let's just say, for instance, we've cut it into squares here. This is another one which is really easy. That's handkerchiefs. So we see handkerchiefs as a great cut. Say, for instance, we want to do, let me grab the wheel. See here? So we're going to cut here, and we're going to cut here. So, sorry, make sure I've gone through. Not pressing hard enough, cut through.
Oh, to make like ravioli?
If you want to make ravioli, you can, but you see here, so then we have bow tie. So that's how we make bow tie.
Cool.
So there's bow tie pasta, you know, you just squeeze it, and that's bow tie pasta. If you want to make ravioli, little bit of filling in there. This is a little bit too long for ravioli, but you would just put a bit of filling in there, press it over, and you could just press it
my type of ravioli.
for ravioli. Or you can just make, you know, sometimes what I'll do is what we call an open ravioli, whereas I'll just blanch that bit of pasta, or an open lasagna, and I'll just put a bit of meat sauce in there, and I'll fold it over and another one on top. Okay, so let's go down to just a little bit of flour. Let's go down to tagliatelle. Fettuccine tagliatelle, one's from Rome, one's from the north. I'm just going to roll this, just making sure, I just want to make sure there's some flour. If there's no flour on it, Mrs. Spielberg, you're going to be buggered, okay? So you want to make sure, and I always do 50% semolina, 50% flour. Now remember the recipe, guys, it's 10 ounces of flour.
Could you use this dough for lasagna?
Oh, yeah, could you ever, yeah? Absolutely.
Good question, Thomas.
Yeah, for lasagna it'd be fine. Look at this, now we've got tagliatelle, okay?
Yep.
So we're cutting into tagliatelle. You can see we're just cutting into tagliatelle. And if you're making the pappardelle, you know, like I cut it into a strip that way. If you're making pappardelle, you can easily roll it up into pappardelle as well, okay?
Judy said Jeff is thanking you for the pasta tips.
Oh, it's Jeff, you're very welcome. Jeff made some ravioli. I think it was a mushroom, was it, Jeff, recently? And he really struggled, and I promised I would make some raviolis. But then I heard he's going to buy them from Trader Joe's from here on out. So I decided I would just show him how to make a pasta. We will make, one of these days, mate, we will make it. I'm just going to put everything together today. I don't care, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll chop that pappardelle, and I'll just chop him in half, the pappardelle. So it is. So that's fresh pasta for you. This fresh pasta, guys, a little bit of the semolina and the flour on there, but you can see how easy it is. And I know, I just wanted to show you, you can purchase the stuff from the store for this recipe. You can purchase it from the store. I don't work for this brand, but I just want to show you don't have to make it. It's far more superior if you make it at home.
Is the recipe for this is on on.
I haven't.
On
Do you know?
Monday,
No, I didn't. But I will write it after the show. I promise you.
Okay.
10 ounces of flour, 3 egg yolks, 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I think I sent it to Seth today. Seth, would you be kind enough to post it, mate? That's why I love you. Okay, we feel good about pasta?
Yeah.
Okay, so the water, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to bring the water up to a boil. Let me just bring this up to a boil. So I always have a rule. I always do. With fresh pasta, not as much. You don't have to use as much water, to be honest with you. Dry pasta, 4/4 water, 1 tablespoon of salt. Some folks say, make it taste like the sea. I disagree with that because we use the pasta water to unlock the noodle, if the noodle's locking up in there. So I always add the salt just when I'm adding the pasta. I add the pasta, then add the salt. That way I've known I've added it. A lot of folks say about al dente, which is crisp to the tooth. You can only really get that from when you're cooking dried pasta. It's very hard with fresh pasta to actually get that. And what is that? If you think about dried pasta, it's basically all these little cells. Imagine all these little beach balls that are dry. As you cook it from the outside in, they start to dissolve. So al dente is in the center there, you've got a layer where they're not fully dissolved, and that's why it's crisp to the tooth. If I was to cook a piece of pasta al dente and chop it in half, you'll see a little bit of whiteness, same color as your tooth, like an ivory color. Unless you were like me before I got these other teeth, it would be yellow. Hey!
They're pretty white.
They are. I got them from a Steve Harvey yard sale. Okay, the water's coming up to the boil, Mrs. Spielberg. I'm going to take my fresh pasta. I'm going to add it to the water. That's going in. I'm happy with the sauce. I want to show you something different today. I want to show you on the recipe, it says toss the pasta with the sauce. But what I want to show you, Mrs. Spielberg, is how, if you've got, say for instance, Mrs. Spielberg, you just want to freeze some of it and you just want to have 2 of you, just eat it tonight. Pasta's cooking. Mrs. Spielberg, the pork, just come and look at this. Just look at the way this falls apart. Any excess pieces of fat, push them to one side. Just look how tender that pork is.
What type of salt are you using?
Kosher salt. We always usually use kosher salt for cooking. All chefs, majority of chefs use kosher salt for cooking, then they'll use finishing salts. But just look at the way this is pulling apart. Please at home use 2 forks to pull it apart. My fingers are like asbestos. Now you can make this and freeze it. This extra pork you can use on a panini, which is just wonderful. But you can see how that pork's succulent. It's blissfully tender and just falling apart. Now, there's a lot of folks who don't want to make a large amount of this. So what I want to show you is how to just make a portion for 2. Normally what we would do is add the whole lot back to the pot and then toss in our pasta if we're having a dinner party. But let's just show you, if there's just a couple of you at home, how we would do this. So what we do, Mrs. Spielberg, is I'm going to heat up some, actually I don't need that excess oil, I'm not sure. I was going to fry some more garlic off, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take out the excess oil. When you cook this at home, guys, one of the common things what may happen is you might see a lot, if you've got more residual oil on the top, more residual fat than that, take a piece of paper towel or skim it, bring it up to a boil. A piece of paper towel over the top will take off any excess oil. A piece of bread will do it. Or if you wanted to, you could bring it up to a boil and the excess fat will go to one side. Now I will say that you want some fat in this recipe. I'm going to heat up the pan, Mrs. Spielberg, and I'm just going to pretend that we're making dinner for the 2 of us. I'm not going to cook off all of the sauce because I want to freeze some for a rainy day.
Is this our dinner?
This is going to be our dinner tonight. So now I've got the sauce in there. Happy days. That's cooking beautifully, okay?
Yeah.
So what I want to do now is take some of that pork. That pork goes into the meat, and you can see these nice big pieces of pork.
Yeah.
Now what you've got to do now, which we always say, stay there, Miss Spear. I'm just going to grab a spoon.
Hey Matt, thanks for watching.
Is that Matt Poole?
Nope, my friend Matt from Florida.
Oh, Hello. At this stage, Mrs. Spielberg, what I want to do is just take a little taste. And what I'm looking for is acidity, okay?
Yeah. Was I supposed to get up fast enough to
No.
taste?
Well, I can really taste the brightness of that lemon, but I want a little bit more lemon. This depends on you. Have a taste at this stage. If you want more lemon, you can add a little bit more lemon. Always squeeze through your fingers because you don't want to get any seeds in your hands. I want a little bit more brightness in mine, to be honest with you, Mrs. Spielberg.
Okay.
Don't add any salt. A little bit of fresh pepper. Remember, we're adding Reggiano Parmesan. Alexa, stop. Remember, we're adding Reggiano Parmesan. Alexa, stop.
You have to speak to her nicely.
Alexa, you beautiful soul, will you stop?
See? That's how you have to always talk to me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now we've got the pork, we've got the sauce. We're going to add the pasta. We've got this beautiful pasta.
Still good.
Yeah, so good. Remember, the pasta's coming over, Mrs. Spielberg. We're going to take the pasta, bring the pan close, and add the pasta to the pot. Remember, you can use your stuff from the store, you know, with it. I'm bringing a little bit of the excess water. And remember, when we're dressing the noodle, pasta is a marriage of a noodle and a sauce. You know, you're marrying the two of them together. And a lot of people don't get it right. And I want to show you just how we do this, okay? Let's bring this up to a boil, okay?
Which one are you bringing to a boil?
I'm going to bring this up to a boil. Now we're going to marry these together because a lot of people don't know how to marry them together. So we're just going to, a lot of, you know, when you look at these commercials with pasta, they have pasta in a bowl and they put the sauce on the top. That's not the way it's done in Italy. Normally what we'll do is we'll have excess sauce in the pot and we want to finish the cooking off the noodle. We want it to absorb that, and we always add some of the pasta water. At this stage now, Mrs. Spielberg,
Yeah.
Reggiano Parmesan. If you wanted to, you could use Pecorino Romano, which is the cheese of Rome. One's from a cow, one's from a goat, one's
Would
from...
you use less because isn't that more salty?
You would use less, yeah. You've just got to be careful of your salt. Now look at the way this is coming together. We're emulsifying it, we're dressing. So what we're looking for here, Mrs. Spielberg, is how it looks in the pan. You don't want it to be this soggy soup or a stew in a pasta. We want to just
call it a stew?
I'm making words up as I go along. You know what I'm like, I'm bonkers. A stew is like a cross between a stew and a soup, a stew.
A stew.
Yeah, okay, look, if it's too tight, add a little bit more pasta, but look at the way it's coming together. See the way it's just coming? Yeah. I'm dressing the pasta, I'm finishing it off. I'm gonna add some cheese, some more cheese to it, and I'm gonna bring it over. See that cheese?
Yeah.
At this stage now, I'm bringing this over to the other side, like Adele, hello from the other side. I'm gonna bring this over here and let it sit for a couple of minutes. Okay. Whilst it's sitting, I'm gonna take some dill, you could use dill, you could use fresh parsley. I'm going to take some and I'm just gonna mince it. Any garnishes you want. You don't want to be using heavy garnishes like rosemary or sage, just whatever you want.
My dad and I love dill.
You do, yeah. But you know, dill's unusual, you know, it's not something you use, but I had some laying around, but you don't have to use dill. Parsley would be fine, basil would be fine. Any of those what we call a finishing herb would be perfect for that. So I'm just gonna stir it around for a second, but I'm letting the pasta absorb the sauce. And this is something people don't do. They just want to get it out the pan straight away. They won't give it a chance for that cheese to melt and the pasta to absorb the sauce. But we want the pasta just to be coated. It shouldn't be like Michael Phelps. It shouldn't be like
you are not swimming.
Swimming across.
That's a good breaststroke. I bet you'd be fast in a race.
Maybe for the first yard.
Dad thinks that this would go really, really well with a strong martini. So he's going to make this recipe with Deb after, which is great.
Is that right?
And Judy wants to make sure that all these shows get put on YouTube. So I think we're working on that.
You know what we're going to do, Judy? These are going to go up to YouTube probably in about 6 weeks' time. We'll be moving the show from Facebook to a YouTube Live. I think we should cast a wider net and bring us all with us. So that means you'll just, instead of going to Facebook, you'll be going to YouTube. Same comments, same questions in about 6 weeks' time. And because Facebook, a lot of people don't have it and we don't get to see everybody. A lot of our friends and family don't have it, so they miss out. So I think if we put it on YouTube, then everyone can ask questions. Okay, at this stage, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to take some of that pasta. I'm going to place it in the bowl. Just look at these noodles and that pasta. Some of those carrots are going to come in. Now remember, you can use dried tagliatelle, dried fettuccine, dried pappardelle if you want, for this recipe. I'm going to take some of that into the bowl. I'm going to take some of those fresh herbs, come on top, and then I'm going to add some of that Reggiano Parmesan. Please use the good stuff.
More cheese, yes.
Yeah, some cheese goes on there, and then we're going to add a little bit of tiny small amounts, which we always say, of finishing salt. A few flakes. Maldon salt, which is from England. We always use Maldon salt. Remember, kosher salt for cooking, Maldon salt for finishing. Freshly milled pepper, small amounts of pepper. And there you have it. That is, my friends, one of my favorite winter ragus.
We're gonna go for a bite.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So you've got them shards, beautiful, tender, blissful, tender shards of beef. That lovely sauce, but look, it's not swimming. It's just coated perfectly. Aww. Look at that piece of pork.
Yeah. Hey, Susan and Arch, how are ya? Oh no, is it gonna be when the Harry Met Sally moment? You look like you're really going for it. Oh, you're slapping your knee? Wow, that's gotta be good.
It's just so good.
You're not gonna start crying, are you?
It's so simple. I might do. It's one of those recipes where you just think, why is this so effortless to make? But it's so good. It's really that easy. The oven does the work. The pot does the work. If you don't want to make pasta, you can buy this stuff. You can buy this stuff.
Companies either.
I don't work for them. I don't. And it's just one of those recipes. Susan made the pizza and she had great results, Susan and Arch. Thank you so much for sharing the photographs. You had brilliant results with the pizza. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, just leave them and we'll answer this week. Yes?
Carol said, thanks for the suggestion about the serving with a smaller portion. Mm-hmm. Heath is excited to try this tonight. And Thomas is watching. He said bon appetit.
Yeah, Thomas is a great cook, and Thomas made the Ragu alla bolognese. You can get that on our website for his family. 11 people had it and they all enjoyed it. He's a great cook, and I just love when people share the photographs. If you do make it, please share a photograph. But if you do make it, remember our goal is always make sure you make some for a neighbor or someone else who you know, just to brighten their day. That's the whole point of this cooking show, is for us to show positivity.
Why don't you talk just a little bit about next week and the week after?
Certainly, yeah. Next week we have, we're going to be making one of my favorite shrimp dishes. Quite common problem with a shrimp is people overcook it and it goes really dry. We're going to show you a solution. Once you learn this solution on how to cook a perfect shrimp, I mean, every time, it's a game changer, like a complete and utter game changer. Once you learn this, this recipe, it's a true winner. And I want to get a recipe as we go towards the Super Bowl and as we go towards party, like the time when we're getting together. I wanted to show you a recipe that can be served hot or cold, and it's a fantastic Greek shrimp. But not only did we show you that we can make it as a Greek shrimp, we show you how you can make the same recipe into tacos and the same recipe with pasta with just slight variants.
And it will be pre-recorded?
This is pre-recorded show. The show will still be about a 30 to 40 minute show. We're going to be on vacation next week, so the show is pre-recorded. If you ask your questions, we'll actually answer. So we'll answer your question. Do tune in, because I guarantee it's just as much fun even though it's pre-recorded. And some of the tips, what we've got, are really fabulous. It's a really good show. We've edited it and it's ready for you. We're on vacation next week.
And then the week after, what
the
are we
week
doing?
after, I think we should be back the week after.
Live.
The week after, we're heading towards Super Bowl. So I want to take on air fryer chicken wings, but I also want to show you a Nashville hot style chicken wing. So we're taking on 2 different types of chicken wing.
But you don't have to have an air fryer because you're going to show 2
No,
different ways.
I'm going to show you deep frying, oven roasting, and air fryer. That's the week after. That's going to be a really good show. So that will be, the recipe will be posted. This week will be posted on Monday, but next Sunday, although we won't be in live like this, we'll be with you online answering your questions. Thanks so much, everybody, for your kindness, for your love. Please feel free to share the show if you like it. To all of our Martha's Vineyard family who are joining us each week, thank you so much. I hope to get to meet you in person. And for all of those folks who are from Crystal Cruises, thank you for joining us here. I can't wait to see you. Have a wonderful week. Mrs. Spielberg, you didn't drink much this week.
No, I know. Chris and Richie, thanks so much. Marcia, thanks so much. We saw Doug. Doug just joined at the tail end, but he can watch again. And
Sausages, Doug.
Say sausages. Perfect.
And Marcia works at FedEx. Marcia, I'm going to be in the morning. I've got some cookies. I'm sending some more cookies out to some friends at Crystal Cruises. Yeah.
And
look,
thanks for Donna and Brian in
Donna
Canada,
and Brian,
who are
yes.
also huge supporters
Look
of
at
the
this.
show.
I've been baking cookies. We've been sending cookies to all of our Crystal family. So I'm sending some more out in the morning via post. So have a wonderful...
Sandy Fisher's watching from Lambert's Cove.
Hey, Sandy, how are you? All right, cheerio, everybody. See you next time.
Day.
God bless.
Bye.